What is the best wing for the GT86? Today we're going to be answering that question. If you're new to the chassis, I'm going to be putting you on to a lot of cool stuff that you've probably never seen before. And remember boys, these are just my opinions, so if I hate on your wing, I rank it all the way into L. I believe it belongs in L, but that doesn't mean anything, it's just my opinion. So alright, let's see what we got here. The 326 wing, and it's probably not the 326 wing you think of when you think of 326 wings, but don't worry, we're going to be getting to that one in a second. This is the 326 Power 3D Star Aero wing, and man, this thing is absolutely beautiful. Probably one of my favorite wings of all time. So now for why I like this wing, I think it fits the overall shape and body lines of the car beautifully. I mean, look at it. It's not over the top, it's not obnoxious, but it is aggressive and it stands out a lot. I just love this wing so much. It's definitely going straight to hot, and I think it's underrated. I really don't think a lot of people know about this wing, so starting it off with something good. All right, next up we got two wings from a company that I love so much, Modelista. They make some beautiful body kits for the GT86. You know, a lot of people know about Modelista's body kits, but I don't think a lot of people know about the wings. We've got the older one, which we're going to look at in a second, and this one right here. It's very angular. I think it goes very well with the Modelista kit, but I'm not sure how well it would do on its own or paired with some other body kits, maybe like a TRD kit or something like that. I don't think I'm going to put it in clean. I think it definitely at least belongs in the good category because it is a nice wing. I'd be happy to see it on a car, but I probably wouldn't run it on my own car. Next up, we've got the second Modelista wing, and this one's a little bit less aggressive. It follows the kind of more rounded shape of the car a little bit better. If you notice something about these wings, they wrap around the Toyota badge, which I think is really cool. I've never seen that on any other wing, so just very classy. I love what they do with their Aero. I think it almost belongs in the clean category, but we're gonna go ahead and put it in good because I think that's where it belongs here. All right, next up, one of my favorite wings of all time. You know, we looked at the 3D Star wing a second ago, but you know, this wing right here, if you really want to make your car look like an Aventador, no, I'm just kidding boys, this thing is ass. It's going straight to L. I don't know what the hell brand this even is, but it's trash, man. I don't want to catch any of you guys rocking this wing. This is not it. All right, next up we got the AutoCraft Engineering Wing. This is kind of an STI style wing. That's not really the name of this style of a wing, but you know, when I see this kind of boxy looking wing with a solid bar going across, two end caps on the side mounted the way it is on the trunk, I immediately think of a WRX STI. So we're going to call this an STI style wing, even though it's not. But I've actually got a little bit of history with this wing. This was probably the first wing that I saw when I got my GT86. I'm like, you know what? One day I want to get my hands on this wing. No one else is rocking it. It's kind of a rare piece that I'm putting you guys onto. It's very expensive though, so if you want to drop a little over a rack on a wing and you want that STI look, I think this is the best way to get that presence. I think it's just the right height. There's another STI style wing that we're going to look at in a second that I think is absolutely obnoxious, and this is not that. It's definitely going straight to clean. Oh man, I'm sure if you guys have watched any of my previous videos, you guys are going to know right off the bat where I'm throwing this wing right here. This is the Uras Haridashi wing. Hey, it's Nick here. If you guys are enjoying this video and want to support the channel, I've got these stickers on my website that I designed. I made them exactly how I would want them on my own car, so I think they're pretty cool. These stickers alone will bring your car from an L to a hot, so I think that's some pretty good marketing. All right, boys, let's get back to the video. This looks very similar, if not the exact same wing that they made for their GT style kit, which I also really love. I didn't put that in this list because I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in with this wing right here. It looks great on any of the bell bottom style kits, like drift style kits, whether it's this Uras Haridashi kit or even the Futago kit or the Rectify kit. Straight to hot. The chassis mount wing, I think they're ass. I think they're attention grabby. I'm not a huge fan of them. In fact, I hate them. So it's going straight to L. So what we've got right here is from, I think, the company Leg Sport, but that's not really the focus on this wing right here. We're going to be kind of grouping all of the Duckbill style wings into one picture. So this wing right here is very popular. It's popular because it's subtle, but it just adds a little bit extra little to the car. This is probably not something I would put on my own car, but you know what? It's not this is a good wing, so we're gonna put it in good. Next up, another very popular wing for the GT86. A lot of people know about this one. This is the Sard wing. Just kind of lets you mount it on the sides of your trunk so you don't have to actually drill holes in your trunk, which is a plus for people who are very indecisive and don't know what they want to do with their trunk. It's very thin. It kind of sits high on the trunk, so it can look a little bit goofy, a little bit dorky if you don't have the right Aero accompanying it. And like with any of the wings we mentioned today, even if it's in the hot or clean category, if you don't have the right Aero accompanying it, it can take the wing from hot or clean all the way down to L, just based on the way the rest of your car looks. We're going to be focusing on just the wings today, but remember boys, it's not just one piece of the car, it's about how the entire car plays out together, how all the pieces work together. So yeah, the Sard wing, we're going to be putting it in clean. Yeah, I like it. I think it fits the car. Oh baby, this is This is nice right here. The TRD wing from Toyota with the end pieces as well. I know in America, a lot of people just got the wing itself, but didn't get the extra little end caps because, you know, I think a lot of people didn't really know about them, but these end caps are great. They take the wing to another level, but even without them, this is a beautiful piece of art. I think all of the cars should have just come from the factory with this wing. You don't even notice that it's there, honestly, when you look at it. It's just so clean, crisp, hugs the car so well. It's not loud at all. It kind of sits on the border between clean and hot, but I'm gonna throw it up to hot because I absolutely love this wing. Another OEM wing, this time from Subaru, and this is just I hate this wing. I think it's really goofy. I don't really think it fits the shape of the car at all. I think it adds a lot of extra little lines and angles that really didn't need to be added. I don't like those little ridges that come up on the sides, and I don't think it extends far enough on the trunk to even look good at all. We're not gonna throw it all the way down to L based on one factor, and that is this car right here. This is one of my buddies. For some reason, he was able to pull this wing off with all the other Aero on his car. He actually threw those little TRD end pieces below this wing, which is crazy. It's a little bit too much, but he pulls it off for whatever reason. I love his car so much, so he's the only reason we're bringing this thing up to otherwise it would be sitting down in L. Shout out to you, bro. I love you. I love your car, but that wing's gotta go. Speaking of stuff that's gotta go, this thing right here, this is obnoxious. This is the other STI style wing that I was talking about earlier. The only body kit that this would work with would be like maybe the 326 power, like that extreme crazy super wide kit. Maybe it would be fine. No, this is ass, bro. This is the worst. This is one of the worst. This is just, we're throwing it down to L. Sitting right next to that chassis mount wing. It's okay with some of these wings, you know, I get it. When you're a young kid, you see these like big old Aero pieces and you're like, damn, I want to get that when I'm older. I get it, especially when like it's like maybe a 16-year-old happened to get this car as their first car. I get it. If you want to get the big wing, the big old wing. Next up, we got the first of two wings from the company called CWEST. They make really cool Aero for this car. This is another company kind of like Modelista, where a lot of people tend to get the Aero pieces, the lip pieces, the rear bumper, spats, side skirts, but they don't necessarily go for that rear wing. I haven't seen a lot of people go for it, but I do like this CWEST wing. I think it's got a very similar presence to that 326 3D Star wing, the one that we put up in hot earlier. It's kind of got a similar shape to an extent. It's got the end caps. It's got a similar angle that it sits on the trunk. It's held up by two posts, but I think we're going to rank it one below the 3D Star wing. We're going to throw it in clean. Next up, the Futago line shop wing. So the Futago line kit, if you guys don't know, that was like the first drift style kit or bell bottom style kit ever developed for this car. And they made a super cool wing recently. It looks very similar to the Uras wing, except this one sits very flat and flush on the trunk and almost has kind of the look of a drag wing without the end caps. But no, this is a super cool, super hot wing, going straight to hot. It looks really, really good on like a drift style build or like a street shark style build. Oh, here we go. This is probably one a lot of you guys have been waiting for, the 326 power wing, not to be confused with the 326 3D Star wing. Yeah, man, I'm not a huge fan of this wing. You've probably seen this wing on a lot of cars. Sure, if you guys are similar age to me, you grew up either watching or being aware of Adam LZ. He has this wing on his cream S13. But yeah, overall, it's just a super obnoxious, super loud, super bright wing. And you know what? That is exactly what 326 Power was going for. That's their style. They make loud kits. They make loud Aero pieces. And I think it's really cool to have them in the industry doing something like that. But you know what? I'm going to be throwing it in because I think it's I don't think it fits the body lines of this car. It's not a huge fan, boys. All right, next up, we got the Greddy Wing. I think it's a pretty cool wing. It's not super loud. It doesn't really stand out that much, but I would be happy to see it on any car. It's not bad at all. Going straight to good. Next up, we have another OEM wing from Subaru. This is the 17 plus BRZ wing. It's very thin. It sits very low on the trunk, but it's definitely an upgrade from that older BRZ wing. We're gonna put it in good because I think, like the Greddy wing, it doesn't really have that much of a presence. It definitely complements the car very well, but it's just not what I would consider clean or hot. But there's actually one thing you can do to this wing to bring it from good all the way to hot, and that is adding some risers. I mean, look at this wing right here. Shout out to my boy right here. He's probably got one of the cleanest GT86 builds I've ever seen. The risers that he put on the wing really brings out that sharpness that flows so well into those base and R side skirts and the rest of the kit. And the wheels, it looks so good. All right, boys, next up we got the first of two Rocketbunny wings. You know, this is like the Duckbill style wing version. You know, I've got kind of a bad taste in my mouth from the whole Rocketbunny era, not because of Rocketbunny themselves. I think they make very quality body kits, but just the amount of people that bought fake kits and just mounted them terribly on the car put obnoxious wraps, ugly ass wheels, and just kind of ruined that whole look for me. Whatever, that's my problem. I shouldn't let what other people build ruin my taste and stuff, but it is what it is. I'm not a huge fan of this Rocketbunny, partially because of that, but I really don't like this duckbill at all. I'm not a huge fan of duckbills, and I like it less so than this orange one that we looked at earlier. So it's not an L, honestly. We're just gonna throw it an A. Another Rocketbunny wing. This one is the trunk mounted big ass wang, and you know what? I do have a couple of positive things to say about this one. I think it's cool and very creative the way they mounted it on the rear of the trunk right here. We're gonna put it right next to the other Rocketbunny wing, and not really my taste, boys. Alright, here is another Subaru wing you've probably never seen before because it's kind of hard to see. On the Subaru page, they've got a little bit of information written about it saying that it's been like wind tested and it provides a certain percentage more downforce on the rear of the car than stock. I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. I'm not looking for the best possible 1 millisecond lap times on the track. I want my car to look good, and this, in my opinion, it's kind of lackluster. It's not goofy. It doesn't look bad. This is the definition of right here. It's just like you look at that, you're like, alright, okay, cool. Alright, next up, I got another wing right here. If you can see it, it's from Tom's. It's even smaller than the Subaru one, if you can believe that. It's just a little tiny little piece of like trim right there on the trunk. It's even air than the Subaru wing, so we gotta put this one in L, boys. It's kind of funny though. It wins some points for being kind of funny, but no, that's not it. We got Quinn's car right here, and if you guys don't know this car, this is Quinn. He's probably one of the OGs in GT86 drifting in the United States as far as like style drifting. He pays a lot of attention to detail on his car, and that definitely shows in the wing. This is a J-Blood wing, very similar to like the Uras wing and the Futago wing. I'd probably put it in that same category as far as style goes, and it's a good wing. It's going straight to hot. Alright, this is the Varus wing. Now this is an interesting wing. It's very hard to style because it sits so high on the car. It can easily look very dorky on your build if not styled right, but this car right here was styled absolutely right. This is Jacob's car. This is probably one of the best styled GT86s ever. In fact, I've got an entire video about it on my channel. You guys can check that out later. It went through two forms, a stance form and this more grip street style form. To style this wing properly, you got to think about everything from the aero even down to the spoke size on the wheel. I know that sounds ridiculous, but details are everything, and in this situation I think the really thin spokes on the wheels actually complement that super thin Varus wing very well. So I feel like it could be in hot, but I'm gonna put it in clean. I think it's a very clean wing. There it is. All right, next up we have another STI wing. It's kind of like a GT style wing, a small one. There's actually a couple different styles of this wing. I think one of them was Japan only. And if you're curious on seeing more video of this wing, got a video at Daikoku Futo in Japan on my YouTube channel that you guys can check out after this video, and there was an STI BRZ featured in there with some close-up shots of this wing. I think with the right build, the right aero surrounding it, can look really good. We're gonna throw it in clean. After that, we got the 14R60 wing. Now the 14R60 is a very limited special edition GT86 created by the TRD team based on the Griffin concept. Overall, I really like this aero. It's very experimental. There's a very weird center exhaust set up in the rear. There's an asymmetrical little reflector on the rear bumper. Yeah, no, this car is crazy. The wing itself, we're ranking just the wing itself. I'm gonna put it in A because I don't really like the shape of it. It's kind of wacky for me. Yeah, if you want to run this wing, I would highly recommend getting the rest of the 14R60 aero pieces with it, but that's next to impossible, honestly, because this body kit is super limited. I just kind of threw it in this video for fun. All right, next up, the second CWEST wing. Now this one is kind of crazy. I mean, it's got a super dramatic kind of downgrade on the sides right there. It looks a little goofy. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna rank it all the way down to A because I think it's got potential to look pretty cool on a build with the right aero, but I don't know if it's quite good. I don't like when I'm comparing this wing to the Greddy wing next to it. I think I would definitely choose the Greddy wing. So I feel like since I'm gonna rank the Greddy wing above this, I can't put it on the same level as the Greddy wing, but it also doesn't really go in A. I feel like it's kind of sits in the same category as the 14R60 wing, where it's not quite good, but I kind of like it still. So there really needs to be another category in between good and A. Let's just make that right there. Alright, the OEM 2015 FRS Wing. This thing is hot. It's going to hot. This car is hot too. Shout out to Kobe. This is a super clean GT86 build if you haven't seen it before. This wing does everything that OEM BRZ wing does not. It flows super well with the body lines of the car. I would probably even rate it higher than the TRD wing. I love this wing so much. I think it works super well with any kind of like street style build, drift build, anything like that. It's gonna be in hot. So as I was doing research for this video, I had a lot of wings in mind to kind of put on this chart. At one point, I just Googled GT86 wings. This wing showed up and I thought it was so ugly that I had to include it on this list because we had to balance out the L section a little bit. So if you're going to be running a duckbill, look for something like up here, like this leg sport one. This is not it. We got the Varus Hyper Arising wing. It's going to be in the same category as the Sard wing. It's got the same kind of presence. It sits a little bit lower on the trunk, so I actually like this one a little bit more. It's a good looking wing. It's big, it's loud, it stands out, but it's still classy and clean. Probably one of the loudest wings on this chart, the Voltex GT wing, and man, this is nice. Whenever I see a GT build, I tend to see this Voltex wing, either this one or like the Swan Neck style one. I mean, that's going to hot. You can't put it anywhere else on this list. If you want a GT style wing from this list, this is the one to go with. Definitely not chassis mount wings. This is what you're looking for. We got kind of a funky looking wing from Charge Speed. It looks kind of Gundam-y. Probably gonna put it in It's not an L. It's kind of cool. It's just not for me. Now, do you guys know what this wing is right here? This is the Artisan wing. Artisan is a very cool company. All of their stuff super unique. I loved seeing when they made the new stuff for the GR86. I think that's some of the best aero that's out there for the GR86. Overall, it's kind of a crazy looking wing. I think we're gonna put it in also. I think it belongs right next to that Charge Speed wing. It's not really my taste, but it's kind of cool looking. It's not an L. Definitely not an L. Nothing from Artisan is an L. Most of their other stuff would belong in hot or clean, but I'm just not a huge fan of this wing. This wing right here, this is actually a challenge for you guys. The first person to name this wing in the comments is going to get one of my stickers for free. I'm going to ship it out to you. I think I like it better than the rounded duckbills like this orange one right here, so we're going to put it in clean. All right, after that, we got a classic. We got the Uras drag wing. Now, this is a wing that was not necessarily meant for the GT86, but a couple of people in the community have adapted it because they like it so much. Now, this is a drag wing, so you may think immediately that this is something for like a drag car, but a lot of the super low, stylish guys in Japan, like the Abo Moon guys, for example, run this wing and it looks super cool on like a low drift style car. We're putting it in hot. This wing is hot. I know this is going to be like a love it or hate it wing, similar to the 326 Power Wing. Like I know that's also a love it or hate it wing. I'm sure someone could have the exact same list as me right here, but with the Uras drag wing and the 326 Power Wing swapped. Like those are just two, wouldn't call them controversial, but you know, it's just a love it or hate it thing. So, and sometimes the hottest wing is no wing at all. Wingless, sleek trunk, always a good look. Thank you guys for checking out my little tier list today. I hope you guys were able to learn a thing or two, maybe discover a new wing that you want to put on your own cars. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and checking my video out. See you next week.